Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Joe and welcome to 10 themed unusual hats in Team Fortress 2. Now this was actually suggested to me by a lot of you guys, as you can see on the screen right now, so I think it's only right that I make this just to sort of get it out there. There's a bunch of people on Outpost and Backpack.tf and you'll hear them in trade servers quite frequently saying how their hat is themed, and it's a fairly obvious forced theme. Like, the theme isn't really there until they make it there. Like, it's not a specific theme. They've just sort of made it up to try and get more profit on their hats. So I'm going to be going over 10 hats that I believe have a solid theme and deserve their sort of pricing, because a lot of these hats are priced higher than they should be, or like a hat of a similar tier with their effects. So I'm going to be going over 10 of those hats. So these are all hats that I believe have a solid theme that can't really be argued against. So coming in at number 10, we have everybody's favourite heavy hat, being the hard counter with the effect of Stormy Storm. The hard counter has actually been featured in 2 of my recent videos and is that umbrella kind of hat for the heavy. Obviously Stormy Storm is like a rain cloud, and with rain and an umbrella it's just an obvious combo to be used. In comparison to the rest of the effects and the other low tier heavy hats with Stormy Storm, it is priced quite a bit higher, but I mean, you can't really argue against the fact it's like one of the most obviously themed hats in Team Fortress 2. So coming next up on this list, we have the Mast Fly's Handyman's Handle. This is of course the toilet plunger hat for the pyro, and I'd say the theme here is fairly strong. Obviously, if you're plunging out a toilet of all the gunk that sort of stores up at the bottom, then the chances are it's going to smell, and smelly things do attract flies. So I'd say a theme is kind of suitable for this one. So yeah, it's essentially just a toilet stick, and if it smells of poo, then obviously that's going to attract some flies. So next up on this list, we have the Dead President's One-Man Army. The One-Man Army is that sort of Gaben styled hat with that Gaben hairstyle and the headband, and everyone says it looks similar to Gaben, so it's only logical that a Dead President's One-Man Army would be on this list. Dead Presidents is the orbiting money effect, so with that related to Gaben, I think that's fairly understandable. Gaben is sort of a godly figure in this community, and obviously everyone gives him money when they unbox, everyone gives him money when they buy items, so obviously he's a very rich man, and I guess you could consider that kind of a meme, but yeah, regardless, it's an obviously themed hat, and if it's styled after Gaben, then Dead Presidents is without a doubt a very strong theme. So next up in this list is a hat that everyone kind of considers the most themed unusual in Team Fortress 2. This is going to be the Aces High Hat of Cards for the Spy. The Hat of Cards is a fedora for the Spy that has a small headband around it, and within that headband is 2 playing cards. Aces High is of course a unusual effect that is playing cards revolving around the player's head, and with this hat's whole theme and style being a hat with playing cards in it, orbiting playing cards is really a ultimate theme for this hat. Literally, I couldn't think of a more themed hat. This whole hat is revolving around that sort of theme of cards, and with our unusual effects that is just solely cards, that is extremely themed and definitely deserves the really high price it's selling for. There's one on Outpost at the moment that's buyout is 60 keys, which is really pricey for an Aces High hat, but again, if you really want that themed unusual, then that's definitely the price you're going to have to pay. So next up on this list, we have another hat that's theme can't really be argued against. It's a fairly obvious and given theme, and this is going to be the La Party Phantom with either green confetti or purple confetti. The La Party Phantom is an eye mask equipable by the Spy only, and is based around the Masquerade masks. Masquerade masks are only really worn to balls or parties, I guess you could call them. And of course, what effect to be better associated with parties than green confetti or purple confetti that are generally associated with celebrations or positive events? Again, I kind of feel like this theme can't really be argued. It's so sort of blatant and it's fairly apparent. Even when you just look at the hat, you kind of associate it with parties, and with that sort of confetti effect, that really does enunciate on this theme. Next up we have the Brigade Helm for the Pyro. The Brigade Helm is a fireman's hat, or I guess you could call it a firefighter's hat, equipable by the Pyro only, and the effects that I'm going to be choosing is Burning Flames. Burning Flames and a firefighter's hat go hand in hand together as a burning firefighter or someone fighting fire. It's really self-explanatory once you see the hat and the effects combo together, and I think this is a really perfect theme, especially for the Pyro, as it kind of goes with that overall fire theme. So our next themed unusual on this list is actually going to be a rather festive tree, which is the all-class hat, which is literally a Christmas tree on top of their head with the effect of Blizzardy Storm. Now Blizzardy Storm Christmas hats can be sort of said for basically every single winter themed hat and can be considered a theme. However, I think it's most prominent in the rather festive tree. The rather festive tree has a snowy base as the bottom of the bit that actually goes around the player's head, and when there's snow falling on the tree, I think that looks really cool together. It's definitely a really prominent theme, and again, I don't really feel like it can be argued because it's a Christmas tree and snow is generally associated with Christmas or the winter time of year in general. So another themed hat that I believe is fairly obvious in Team Fortress 2 is the Bonk Helm, which is the Scout hat. It's a batter's helmet with 2 cans of Bonk Atomic Punch on either side with the effect of bubbling. Of course, each drink on this helmet are both carbonated cans of drinks, and bubbles are, of course, something you get with just about every carbonated drink in the world. So a bubbling drink themed hat goes really well together, and I think that's another theme that is fairly obvious in itself. This hat is literally just a hat with a bubbling carbonated drink attached to either side. It really can't be argued. It's a really simplistic and basic theme. So as this list draws to an end, I've got another one of those hats that is seen so often on the market and is so expensive for what it is. However, it's one of those themes that is so obvious and quite possibly one of the strongest themes in Team Fortress 2, and this is going to be the Masked Fly's Hiveminder. The Hiveminder is the sort of a beekeeper's hat for the pyro that covers not only the head, but it has a sort of mesh cover covering the face and the back of the head. It's fairly obvious when I say that the flies orbiting around the hat represent the bees that come with the beekeeper theme for this unusual, and is definitely one of the strongest themes in this game. It really can't be argued, and that explains the extortionately high price for this hat. So our last and another very famous theme in this hat, quite possibly one of the most old and themed unusuals in this game, is going to be the Masked Fly's Swagman Swatter. The Swagman Swatter itself is a fairly themed hat for the sniper. Everyone basically says that every single sniper hat with masked flies is themed. However, this is the most prominent one. The Swagman Swatter as a hat was actually introduced into real life to prevent flies from getting in people's face, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain the corkscrews hanging off of each string on the hat are meant to be shaken around with the person's head to prevent flies from getting in their face or something like that. And of course, with masked flies being constantly around the sniper's head and there's flies trying to get in their face, then that explains the corkscrews coming down, and it's a very similar theme to a real life situation. So I guess that's why it's again really high priced in comparison to most other sniper hats of this tier. So that is 10 themed unusuals in Team Fortress 2, guys. Let me know what you thought of this down below, and if you think I should maybe make another edition, because I'm fairly certain I missed out a few hats. But yeah, leave any suggestions down below and let me know if you actually enjoyed this video. And that's just about it, guys. Thank you again so much for watching, and peace.